4:12 a.m. The hotel lobby is completely silent except for the faint hum of an ice machine down the hallway. You're standing near the entrance in a sharp, dark uniform, holding a rolling suitcase in one hand and a cup of black coffee in the other. Your eyes are dry. Your body isn't entirely sure what time zone it's in. Outside, a shuttle van pulls up to the curb. The driver doesn't say much. He just nods, takes your bag, and opens the door. 10 minutes later, you step out into the crew entrance of the airport. While thousands of passengers are still asleep in their beds or panicking over packed suitcases, you swipe your badge through a heavy security door. You aren't going to a seat in row 18. You're walking up the jet bridge to the flight deck. The cabin smells like stale air and industrial carpet, but when you open the cockpit door, everything changes. Dozens of screens, switches, and backlights glow softly in the dark. This small room, no bigger than a walk-in closet, is where you'll spend the next 8 hours. 4:45 a.m. You sit down in the left seat. The leather is cool and worn. Before a single passenger boards, there's work to do. Quiet, meticulous work. You print the flight plan. You check the fuel loads. You cross-reference weather radar charts, looking for convective activity, clear air turbulence, and jet stream shifts. Your first officer sits beside you, flipping switches during the pre-flight scan. Fuel matches, he says smoothly. Cross-checked, you reply. To anyone watching from the outside, it looks complex, almost overwhelming, hundreds of buttons and digital displays, but after years of training, your hands move on instinct. You perform the walk-around on the tarmac. You shine a flashlight onto the massive engine blades, checking for bird strikes, hairline cracks, or hydraulic fluid leaks. The air smells like burned jet fuel and cold morning dampness. People think flying is about the sky, but in the beginning, it's entirely about precision on the ground. 5:30 a.m. The passengers are boarding now. You can hear the faint thud of luggage hitting the overhead bins through the armored door. Inside the cockpit, you put on your headset. The radio comes alive with a wall of sound, air traffic controllers talking fast, throwing out numbers, runway assignments, and departure routes. Tower, Flight 482, ready for pushback. Flight 482, cleared for pushback, face south. The tug pushes the 150-ton metal tube backward onto the taxiway. This is the moment the shift hits you. You're no longer just an employee doing a job. You are now personally responsible for 200 lives sitting directly behind you. They don't know your name. They don't know if you slept well last night. They just trust that when you advance those throttles, everything is going to be fine. 5:52 a.m. You line up on runway 22 right, cleared for takeoff. You reach forward and push the thrust levers. The engines roar. The force pushes you back into your seat as the aircraft accelerates down the pavement. 80 knots, V1, rotate, the nose pitches up, the tires leave the ground, and the city lights drop away into the darkness below. 10 minutes later, you hit 10,000 feet. The chiming sound echoes in the cabin. You climb through a thick layer of gray clouds. It's bumpy. The control wheel twitches in your hands as the air pushes against the wings. Then suddenly, you break through the top of the cloud deck. The sun is just rising over the horizon, painting the sky in deep oranges and purples. Above you, it's completely clear. Below you, a seamless ocean of white clouds. It's one of the most beautiful sights a human being can ever witness. And for about 3 minutes, you forget that your stomach is light from the early wake-up call. 7:15 a.m. cruising altitude, 37,000 feet. The autopilot is engaged. The cockpit settles into a rhythmic hum. This is the part the public doesn't see. People imagine being a pilot is nonstop adrenaline or high-stakes heroics. The reality, it's long stretches of absolute quiet. punctuated by intense micro decisions. You take a sip of lukewarm coffee. You look at your first officer. You talk about mortgage rates, coffee brands, and layover hotels. You talk about family. My daughter had a soccer game yesterday, he says, staring out at the empty blue expanse. Missed it. Yeah, you say, I missed my anniversary last week. That's the hidden price tag. You miss birthdays. You miss holidays. You celebrate Thanksgiving on a Tuesday in an airport hotel room with a cold turkey sandwich from a vending machine. Your body lives in a perpetual state of circadian confusion. You wake up at midnight in Tokyo feeling like it's lunch, and you try to sleep in Chicago when the sun is blazing outside your blackout curtains. 9:04 a.m., 2 hours into the cruise. A red master caution light flashes on the main display panel. An electronic chime rings through your headset. Hydraulic system B pressure is dropping. Your pulse quickens slightly, but your voice stays level. Master caution, hydraulic, you say. Checked. The first officer replies immediately. There's no panic, no dramatic shouting like in the movies. You pull out the quick reference handbook. You turn to the specific checklist. Item 1, isolate system B. Item 2, monitor pressure gauge. You go line by line, reading aloud, confirming every single switch before it's touched. The pressure stabilizes, but the system is degraded. That means flap deployment on landing will be slower, and you'll need a longer runway. You look at the weather map for your destination. A rain squall has just moved over the airport, dropping visibility and creating crosswinds. Now, you aren't just flying. You're solving a physical and tactical puzzle. At 400 miles per hour, 9:40 a.m., you begin your descent. The air turns turbulent as you drop back down into the soup. The windows go completely white, with fog and rain droplets streak horizontally across the glass. You're holding the controls now, manual flying. Your feet rest lightly on the rudder pedals. Your eyes flick rhythmically across the primary flight display. Airspeed, altitude, horizon, vertical speed, airspeed, altitude, horizon, vertical speed. The wind catches the left wing, dropping it sharply. You instantly counter with right aileron and a touch of rudder. This is where the psychology of being a pilot reveals itself. It isn't about being fearless. It's about compartmentalization. You can't think about your mortgage right now. You can't think about your fatigue. You take every ounce of stress, wrap it up, and set it aside, leaving only pure, focused execution. 500 feet, the automated voice calls out, still inside the clouds. 400, 300. Then the clouds break. The runway threshold appears right in front of you through the rain, lined with bright green and white lights. The crosswind is blowing hard from the left. You crab the aircraft into the wind, aligning the nose just as the main gear touches down. Thump, thump. The tires grip the wet asphalt. Reversers deploy with a deep roar. The heavy aircraft slows down smoothly. Turning off at the taxiway exit, you take a deep breath. Behind the cockpit door, you can hear the faint sound of 200 passengers unbuckling their seatbelts, grabbing their phones, complaining about delays, and texting their family members that they've arrived. None of them know about System B. None of them know about the crosswind calculation you made at 300 feet. To them, it was just another flight. And honestly, that's exactly how you want it. 10:25 a.m. The aircraft is parked at the gate. The engines spin down into silence. You sign the maintenance log, pack your headset back into your bag, and put your captain's hat on. You open the cockpit door and step out to thank the passengers as they exit. A young kid walking off with his parents looks into the flight deck, his eyes wide with awe. You smile, hand him a small plastic wings pin, and say, "Have a good trip, buddy." 10 minutes later, you walk out of the terminal, carrying your suitcase. You step into the bright morning sunlight of a city you don't live in, heading toward another crew van, another hotel room, and another alarm set for 3:30 a.m. tomorrow. You look up at the sky. A jet trail is stretching across the blue. It's an exhausting, strange, isolating life. But as you pull your collar against the wind, you realize something you couldn't imagine living it anywhere near the ground.